Welcome back to the Diversify podcast, guys. Today we're having the CEO and founder of Huzzle, Ingmar Klein. Huzzle is a career growth platform that guides students from freshman to graduate job. Most platforms around today get students jobs when they already know what they want. Huzzle starts earlier when they're lost. Think of it as Gen Z's answer to LinkedIn. Introducing Ingmar Klein, the founder and CEO of Huzzle, who's actually flown all the way from Germany
to London to us.
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's perfect.
Hey guys.
Hey,
Thanks
Ingmar.
very much.
Hey.
How's it
Very
going?
nice to have you here.
Great, amazing.
Yeah, so Ingmar, maybe we can start with you telling us a bit about yourself, how you came to be here, the environment in which Huzzle was created. Where did the inspiration come from?
So when I start usually telling about myself, I think the world kind of consists of a sphere of people and of things. And initially when I was like 15, 16, I was extremely interested in things. I wanted to do physics. I wanted to be a professor for physics. So I did work at my university, Technical University of Munich, where they had a research project on how to going back to the Big Bang and what happened at that time and so on and so forth. So I was really interested in that. And then I think at one point in time, when I was 16, I went to Vancouver as a high school exchange. And I met a friend, his name is Cole, and he then introduced me to the people's world, I think. And there in Vancouver, I was also working again on a research project at Triumph, their particle accelerator. And that's where I started feeling, hey, I'm so curious about the problems that they're trying to solve in these teams, but like working together with these people is hard and something is missing. I'm missing something. And then Cole kind of, I think, introduced me to that people's world in Vancouver back then. The capital markets were really, really, it's just like thrilling to work there. And so then I met someone at the company's called Dean's Knight Capital Management. And he introduced me to stocks and trading. And I was coding back then, so I thought, hey, I can come up with an algorithm that tracks candlestick patterns and based on that makes trading decisions. And this is where I got into, I think, the people's world. So then with my friend Cole, I went back and took some concepts back to Munich, I think, and started an agency. I started a social media agency. So I just started going around in Munich and local stores and knocking on the doors and trying to sell them my concepts and so on and so forth. A few then said, yes, why not? Let's try it. And from there on, I started doing bigger projects and we grew. And then at one point I merged it together with with Cole, who had the company in Vancouver. And that was my company before Huzzle. And at the end, we had let's fast forward maybe a bit. So we did a London Startup Fair together with my co-founder Parham, who was managing UC Entrepreneurs as a director there. And there were a lot of young people trying to find jobs in cool environments back then. And we had many applications. And if you are working in the service industry as an agency, as a consultancy, then human capital is everything. I mean, you need the brightest people with the brightest ideas to join you. Otherwise, you can't compete. And we had 80, 90 people wanting to work for us. We didn't have the project. So we thought of, hey, we can build a platform that connects these people with potential customers on the B2B side, where they could post interesting projects about marketing. Then we can connect these two people over a platform, bring them together. And the winning teams with the best ideas then get to partner with us as a professional partner and realize the project from the company. And then I just started conceptualizing the idea a bit more, and I think throwing an MVP of the idea into kind of my friends' network, because they were working venture capital and consulting companies, so they saw a lot of concepts and they knew what was working and what wasn't. And then a few bits came back here and there from students, from recruiters, from these kind of more professional friends. And that's where the Huzzle idea started to evolve gradually. And at one point I felt extremely excited about something. I don't remember anymore which component of the idea it was, but it was enough. It got me intrinsically so motivated to start the whole thing. And then I called up Parham again, who I knew from before. Hey, do you want to join me? And then he joined me as a co-founder. And then 1 month later, I posted something on LinkedIn looking for a co-founder CTO. And Amit, who's now our CTO, applied to that role among other 50 people. And it was a second interview with him, immediately knew, hey, this is the guy. And then we just started building the product, launching it into the market, waiting for feedback, and yeah, now we're here.
Okay, yeah. So
Super interesting how you started in the world of like finance too.
Yeah, same
yeah.
with you, right?
Yeah. Did you ever wonder that what life would have been if you just continued down that path? And what made you sort of not go down that path? Like,
yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of business schools and a more like generalist subjects that teach generalist subjects like social sciences, for example. I think a lot of people after that, I come from University of St. Gallen, where people either go into banking or consulting or into venture capital. Like these are the three kind of areas. And when I talk to a lot of these people, it's like, why do you do this? Are you intrinsically motivated by the work that you do there? Is it really exciting? And some people think, hey, M&A is like really exciting. I've been doing this before. I love it. I love what I'm doing. You know, it's like, I need this kind of environment. But then also a lot of people tell me that they do it in order to do something different later on. Because I think a lot of times it's about freedom. It's about going through a period of working in a bank or working at a consulting company that pays you well to then have freedom and maybe found your own company. So when I talk to a lot of people now, also in the venture capital industry, most of the young people tell me, hey, in 2 or 3 years, I want to found my own thing, right? In banking, I think it's similar as consulting. So it's this strategic and conscious decision to do this, I think, in order to then do something that I truly, I think want. And I thought to myself back at university, I have 2 maybe windows of opportunities now. I'd either do this right now, where I still am in this environment, I just try it, or I also go, more in that path, and then when I'm 2, 3 years down the road, I then have time to found it. So I chose this. Maybe again, if that doesn't work, then later on I have the second opportunity as well.
Yeah, and just for a bit of context to get a sense of the time frame, how old were you when all of this was happening? When you were in finance, when you founded your own marketing consultancy?
I founded the consulting company when I was 16.
oh wow.
And it was doing the trading stuff then, and the candlestick, this algorithm that analyzes candlestick patterns and so on and so forth. And then gradually we got bigger projects, cooler companies. Back then we had I think big advantage, now looking back at it, which was that, hey, we come from Generation Z and we are digital natives. So you could talk to big companies and gain your respect there because they don't know how to do social media marketing and these kind of things. I believe a lot of people that you see now, they started out with an agency model where they could sell the story. Hey, I'm from Generation Z. And this way, I think, gave a lot of people opportunities to then grow into different things later on. Yeah. But I was 16 when that started.
Amazing. And did you have any help when you did that? Or was that purely something you did by yourself as a 16-year-old?
My parents supported me in everything what I did by not being involved too much what I was doing, pretty much. They just let me run. So no, I think most of all my friends supported me. So I was inspired by the people I met in Vancouver. I was inspired by the scientific environment I was surrounded with, and so on and so forth. They played a big role. Yeah.
Okay.
Bring it to the mission of Huzzle and like a little bit more about the company itself. What's your sort of ultimate mission? Like, what would be the dream for Huzzle? What would be, okay, I've made it, and this is always what I wanted to achieve with this company.
The dream is, I think nowadays, in today's world, a lot of people when they grew up and will grow up and go through life, I think when you're a child initially, you have these aspirations and you get excited about things. And I think when you look at your childhood, what you liked and what you disliked really defines, I think, who you are to a high degree. I think you change throughout life and external influences and so on, so then also form you. But I think when you're a child, when you go back, hey, this is me here in life. And then it's about going through a process when you go through education, elementary school, then high school, and then university, where you think you have to somehow fit into the system that we currently have built. right? So I am this maybe star or something. I don't know. I have this in me, but now this in me needs to be fit into reality, into the system that we currently have like around us. I still need to pay my bills, right? I can't just do whatever I want. And I think that especially when you enter university and then you go through these 3-4 years, this is a key time of finding where you can be in that system and where you can work in that system and what you like to do, and which industries and roles and how you then make your money. And I think currently the solutions that are out there in order to help you and guide you through this time, that they're very bad or just they don't exist. So what happens is there are a lot of misfits, I think, after the third year. Also because you focus on university and then career, maybe like a second kind of thing you do there, and then you don't, and then you find a job in an industry or in a role, and then you have more commitments, you get an apartment, you have fixed costs, and so on and so forth. So it becomes much harder to then change again. And fast forward, and now I'm overdoing it. You're in your midlife crisis, where you then look back, hey, this is who I am back as a child. So I think the current tech solutions out there do a really, really bad job at transitioning young people into the system, into the world of work. And this is what Huzzle is supposed to do. So Huzzle is supposed to know about who you are, and what you like and what your ambitions are, and making that work in the current system that we live in, finding these opportunities, because I believe that for every single person out there, whoever you are, there is this perfect place, this culture, this environment where you can grow, where the people are amazing, that offer you the working model you need in order to breathe and be who you are. And now it's on us, on the tech startups, to find that opportunity, right? And I think we can build it. So that's the long-term goal.
And touching on your childhood, since you already mentioned it, so what was your passion back then? Would you say you found it? Was it the same thing that was when you were a child? Is it the same thing that makes you wake up in the morning right now?
It's a great question. I think whenever what is my passion? I think it's solving problems. I think I always have to keep my mind at solving problems and doing something. I think back then there was like maths and physics I loved because I could keep solving problems, and but I think that's it. And I think the market we are in, especially the market we're in, because it's a very crowded market, and there are a lot of other solutions that are trying at different angles with other great ideas. I think especially this market, the team is what wins in this market, I think. So you have the best team and keep solving problems, and I think you have a very complex environment with different stakeholders, especially in our case, where solving these problems is a lot of fun. And I think that's my I would say that's why I'm passionate about solving these problems now.
So you're happy right now with where you are right now?
I'm happy, yeah.
That's great to know.
And why should students download Huzzle and find a job through the platform? Like, if you think about our audience, I think we're really targeting 3 types of people. So the people that are pre-university, they're in school, and they're like, oh, should I be a doctor like my mom and dad in my case? Should I be a doctor? Should I go into, should I do investing? Banking looks pretty cool. Should I do law? And so those people who are, I guess, a bit undecided at that stage, the stage number 1. Stage number 2 is, I'm in university, I'm in first year. I see everyone applying for spring weeks. I see everyone applying for summer internships. It's so overwhelming. Maybe I'll just follow the crowd and apply for banking. Maybe I'll follow the crowd and apply for law. That's stage number 2. And then stage number 3 is, I'm in a job right now. Either I'm happy or I'm not. Like, what's the next step in my career? Like, do I move into a different industry? Do I also want to be an entrepreneur? Like, maybe that's not for me. Like, so that's the 3 types of people in our audience. Could you kind of explain for those groups, like how Huzzle might be useful? I know there's like networking events and there's, employer fairs and like all kinds of stuff on the app. For each group, maybe what they can find on the app?
Yes, that's a great question. What we're trying to do is so there are a lot of solutions in the market that try to make better matches by finding out who you are through, psychometric tests and so on and so forth. So they approach it from a theoretical side, which means that, hey, I ask you a lot of questions, and based on the information I have, I can match you to great companies and opportunities on the other side. I think that won't be effective. I think what's much more effective, it comes down to you as an individual to find out in reality through, and we call this like efficient trial and error, what you like and what you don't like. And the big problem there is that when you look at conventional opportunities like internships and jobs, then you invest time into 3 or 4, 5 months. So there's a lot of time that just went into this now, and let's say you don't like it, then hey, 3 months is gone. At least I have this experience now. So what the job that we have is, we want to give access to what we call tiny career opportunities, which are more granular opportunities that let you do this trial and error very effectively or very efficiently with the world of work, which means, hey, I do this workshop with this consulting company, I go on this insight day, I do this course maybe, I go on this hackathon, this competition, I take part in that. And there, producing this content, we want to start at some point also creating that content ourselves together with companies. But right now, the best stakeholder to do this are student societies. And I think these are truly amazing, because what they're doing is pretty much, they say, hey, we cluster interests. We are a group of students which are interested in, for example, consulting or banking or whatever. And now our value, or what we do is we just bring real life events. I mean, in reality, partner with companies out of these industries and bring them to our members, so that students can, in a very efficient way, start getting to know about the world of work. So they're doing an amazing job right now. And I think we'll get back to this when we also talk maybe about universities and what the job that I think they failed to do a bit. But this is why we want to empower student societies. And we see them as the content creators right now, as the people that make it happen, that get the founder of Revolut to speak at UCL and make these great events happen. And so Huzzle is the platform where you find these. And if you sign up as a first-year student now, you tell us a bit about your interests, you find your student societies that you want to become a member of, and you are getting matched on a weekly basis to these tiny granular opportunities. So things that happen, on a bi-weekly basis at university where really the life happens. And I think then you make the decision, because you know now, hey, like this is how it is in consulting or in banking, and then you gradually, naturally make the decision to your first internship and then the graduate job, which should be a good decision then. And then for people who already know what they want, which we call them based on intent, who are mostly in the third year, there we focus on being a much better job platform than what you currently have out there, which is truly built around you, which takes the whole pain of applying on external career sites out of the equation and moves it to our platform and makes it really convenient to go through that. So yeah.
So if I understand correctly, you distinguish between candidates based on intent and based on interest.
On the extremes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So have you noticed there's a difference between success rates? So students that approach the app based on intent, are they more likely to find an opportunity than those who just have a set of interests but aren't too sure?
That's a super interesting question.
What they want to do. And do you have any advice for students who aren't quite sure yet what they want to do?
Your question is, do people who have a clear intent, do they have a higher chance of succeeding? So I think my gut feeling tells me, we don't have numbers on this. Quantitatively, I can't give you a good answer, but I think my gut feeling tells me that the more ambitious you are and the more determined you are and the better the intent is, more crystallized your intent is, I think the higher your likely chances of landing that job in that industry. Yeah. So our job is to get you from a broad interest to that determination in the end, right? To know, hey, I want this, because I know now how it's looking out there in the industry. So I know I want this job.
We have some data here too from LinkedIn. 69% of professionals are saying that relevant skills are more important than a degree. How important is it for students to know early on what they want to be doing and which skills they need to gain? And are there any skills that can cover a lot of bases that students should be thinking about brushing up on?
Here's the thing. I believe it should not be important at all to know what you want when you're young, when you're your first year, because naturally that's where you are supposed to start getting to know what you want in life. And this is exactly the problem, because currently you don't have great solutions that support you on this journey. You are being pressured prematurely into then finding career paths. In your first year, and you mentioned this before, you just joined university, everyone does his or her spring week now. There's fear of missing out. I need to do my spring week. I need to head into these career paths. And I think that's really dangerous, because then your first year, just because you get pressured into this, you don't make a conscious decision. And then the third year, this can be a bad decision, which then has a big impact on your life. So yeah, I think, could you repeat what you...
Yeah, so what would you say to employers then who are saying,
Yeah,
skills are becoming increasingly important, they're becoming pickier, because there is a candidate pool out there that's large enough to give them good quality candidates with polish, but there might be a few diamonds hiding in the rough, no? In terms of the students who are approaching the app with interests rather than intent.
I mean, yes, when you as a company, you look for, I mean, most companies, they want to hire graduates, the graduate job. The bigger you are, the more you can invest earlier on in the journey, employer branding, your first year, second year, third year students. But of course, they're looking for technical skills, mostly.
What kind of skills?
So what we see, where there's a huge gap right now between what you are being prepared for by university versus what you need to have it at work, is, for example, UX, UI, is product management, is especially when you want to work in tech industries, these kind of skills no one prepares you for at university. So there's a big gap, and these companies have to invest a lot in you early on in the learning curve in order to for you to make the return on their investment. So that's a problem. I think also sales is a skill where there's a big gap right now that you don't learn during university. And but there are a lot of these things, and I believe that it goes to a fundamental problem, which is that university doesn't prepare you for the world of work and for what companies out there need. And it doesn't really matter which company you talk to, all of them have the same problem. There's a huge gap between what we require from what you actually need to do versus what you then have in terms of skills and experience and so on and so forth. And that gap is there because I think the speed at which universities are iterating on their what's it called, curriculum, can't catch up with how fast the industry is moving forward. And so who bridges that gap? Can it be a startup? Can it be someone else? And I believe that it's going to be a tech solution like our startup, but also a different stakeholder. And in our case, these are student societies who bring these events to students, upskill them during their university, bringing them closer to what is actually, how it is actually to work at these companies. And then you can, I think, bridge that gap.
And if also talking about people and students who are interested into also entering the world of startups, could you, in very easy words, explain how you actually started Huzzle, like from idea to what it is right now?
In very easy words, yeah. It was an idea, and you need to get extremely excited about the idea. It needs to feel like you need to have that gut feeling. It's like something's starting to happen, and I can't stop thinking about it. When I tried to get sleep, I couldn't. I was racing. My head was racing. I started conceptualizing the idea, visualizing how the app would look like, and so on and so forth. This needs to happen. You need to feel that. Otherwise, you can't carry out that energy for the next steps.
So you need to work like long hours for this to happen.
It comes naturally at a point, I think. You get very curious about a space, and then you deep dive into that space, into the details. You need the details, really the details and how people feel. You need to talk to people. And that's what gets you motivated. It's the details in the end that get you really, really excited about it. And then once you have that energy, I mean, that the rest happens naturally, I think. But now, conceptually, how to do it, you have this energy. And then what I did, at least, I tried communicating that to others who can help me on my vision. So I created my pitch deck, just with the idea, not a product, nothing. Just the deck, and with some validation from the stakeholders I needed, from students and from recruiters and companies. And then I thought, okay, who do I need on this team in order to make it really successful? I need someone on the business side who has a very complementary skill set to mine. And I made a very rational and conscious decision about this. A lot of people found their startup together with their friends, and then later on they realize that friendship element is not really, we have to develop that into more of a professional relationship, and then that can cause problems later on if you're not good at communicating that, and so on and so forth. But I thought just consciously, what are the skills that I don't have, that I need on the business side? I called Parham because of that. So my other co-founder, and I pitched him. Like I would be pitching an investor, because I've huge respect for him, and I wanted to convince him to join me on this. So you need, I think, at least 2 more people. I think having a team of 3 people is great. And then we needed a technical person, someone who can actually develop it and code it. And then we got Amit on board. So first, I think this excitement needs to be there, this intrinsic motivation. Then start communicating it, put your thoughts, visualize them effectively. And if you want to effectively communicate thoughts, you wrap them in a story. So you have to be good at telling a story and motivating people. And then you go out there and find your dream team. You put all of them together. We couldn't be in the same room together, but we were doing it virtually. I was driving out from Munich to Berlin, where Amit lived, straight away after we onboarded him. And then you just kick it off and you start. And then I would say, what are the next steps? You go into a deep phase of validation, iteration together with the market. So whenever you have, let's say, a concept, a hypothesis about, hey, this is going to work, or this is my idea, you do half of it or just 20% of the product and you throw it into the market. You iterate constantly and so on and so forth until the market accepts something, right? And that happens naturally. It starts to accept something at one point and you will feel that.
How do you feel this?
No, it's called product market fit is the term for it. And you feel it, it's the metrics mostly that's product health related metrics. So if you develop a digital product, then you'll have like retention rates that you measure, stickiness, and so on and so forth. And you will see slowly and gradually you see it in the metrics. And there's just this organic pull. You don't have to push out your product anymore, but people pull it. And it's accepted by the market. It's something that truly solves problems and provides value to other people. And if you're at that point, then that's basically done. Then you just have to scale it then.
It's a really great example because you created this while being in different places, like your whole team.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's seen like a barrier to start something. And also one interesting story, we actually heard about Huzzle quite some time ago. Manu?
Much before this podcast, actually.
Oh, really?
So it's probably an example of successful marketing that you guys have done. So this was so long ago. Like a year ago, I found this hedge fund Insight Week marketing strategy that you guys used, where I was like, you share the Huzzle link, and whoever shares it the most gets an Insight Week at a hedge fund. And for me, like I thought that was super valuable and it was super interesting. It immediately brought Huzzle's name to my mind. I shared it with friends. I shared it with Angellika. I shared it with my other friends at uni, and they shared it with other people. Like it was such a smart move to target like very specifically your exact audience, the like second year, first year students. So I guess what I was asking was, who came up with that idea? And in general, like the marketing ideas that you have, the best ideas that you had in your team that have like really, really changed the business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Could you like share some examples and maybe
yeah, of course.
Who came up with them?
Who came up with the idea? Probably Parham. I'll give Parham the credit for this one. I don't know. I don't remember who came up with the idea. It's always a team effort, and then we talk about things. And I think this is a good example because we also see, again, student societies are trying to provide young people with that content, with these tiny opportunities, with these granular opportunities. But these are not too, there are not too many of them. Like they're a bit rare, but these are the golden nuggets that we're trying to promote. And this is why we thought, hey, we need to promote our own tiny career opportunity. And an Insight Week is really cool because, like you said, it's not too big of a time commitment. You can quickly do it, and it really gives you some experience and something in return. Some other marketing ideas. So some more exciting ones that we have going on now, and this is something I can share already, which goes more into the direction of guerrilla marketing. But we see a big problem is that a lot of companies, especially big ones, don't have the time, and they have automated basically algorithms that scrape through applications, and based on keywords in your CV, they reject you. So a lot of these applications nowadays, it's 75% of all the applications on average that are being sent to companies don't ever make it to a human being, and are not
75%.
75%. Recently read that in an article. So what this means is that you need to have the right terms in your CV and basically please this algorithm that you have no idea how is on which basis that is operating on. And then you get an automated rejection letter. And a lot of students receive these letters. You've received.
Yeah, I've received many of those rejection letters. Maybe at some point I can share that. But like I applied for 121 jobs when I was in first year, I think. And I got 4 interviews and I got 1 offer, and then that offer was taken away because of COVID. So very familiar with rejection and stuff. Like, and that's part of the mission, I think. Like when we're coming up with this podcast as well, when we're working together on this, a big part of our mission is really this exact problem. It's also like kind of, I know I'm kind of interrupting.
No, please go ahead.
We'll jump back in, but like I think there's a big gap in information that's available for students of different backgrounds, and maybe we can talk about how Huzzle's planning on tackling that as well. Like there are these statistics, like roughly 30, like a third of the UK population is from like working class backgrounds, and then a third from like middle class, and third from upper class. And if you look at the distribution of elite jobs, let's say elite jobs are consulting, law, and banking. If you look at the distribution of those jobs across classes in the UK, it's actually horrible. Like 30% of the UK population is working class. Only about 10% of that group ends up securing jobs in these elite industries. Even after they do, they earn around 16% less in these jobs. And another like crazy statistic that I saw from the London School of Economics was that a student with a 2-2 from a middle class background is still more likely to get one of these elite jobs than a student with a first class from a working class background.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's clearly a gap. Now, I think it comes down to the fact that students from middle class and upper class backgrounds, they grew up in families where their dads, worked in the industry. They have friends who worked in the industry. Before, when you're in school, you do an inside day or something. A lot of students at UCL in first year, they already had like all the big banks on their CV. They had work experience days and stuff. It's those people versus students that have done part-time jobs at Aldi, when they were in school. It's not even comparable. The CVs aren't comparable. There's a big disadvantage there.
And it amplifies as well. If you have parents in those industries, they will automatically have friends. They'll have a network that you can tap into.
Yeah. And so I think there's an information problem. Like it's not a talent problem. I don't think the students from those backgrounds.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and I guess like, so that's a big part of our mission. When it comes to Huzzle, like, is there sort of an embedded plan here to kind of level the playing field? Because now essentially you're sharing the same information with everybody. Everybody can download the app. It's completely free. I didn't see any sort of paywalls on your app.
No, it's completely free.
Yeah.
It's a great point. First of all, I love the mission that you're on, closing this information gap, because I really believe it exists, and it is because of the lack of information they have in these industries. So I think one solution we're working on right now, which will be productized over the next months, is a feature that connects you to other like-minded students and industry professionals, so you can early on build that network that you're referring to, this kind of, is it called vitamin D, I think, or something like this. There's a term for it, where you have your network, basically because of your family and the environment they grew up and so on and so forth.
Okay.
You have these existing networks you can tap in, and it's unfair others don't have it because of their background. So what we're trying to do is match you based on your interests and your career goals and your ambitions. Match you to industry experts, match you to people at these banks. And it doesn't matter what background you have, but we want to help you, support you, build up that network, because social capital network is a very important component in order, unfortunately right now, to find your, maybe not unfortunately, who knows, but to find your job and to find that career path. This is what you're referring to. And you're talking about the information gap.
Yeah.
I took a component now out of that, and which was more about the network. and having the connections in place. But that also, I mean, they teach you about the way how to do it, what you need on your CV, and so on and so forth. So I think it goes hand in hand. But this is a feature that we're working on right now. How you can imagine is you just, since we know about your interests and your goals, we do these 101 introductions on a weekly basis to people out of the industry, to companies, also to other students who have similar goals. So maybe how you got together, you could have gotten together on the app on Huzzle in a few months from now on, yeah.
Amazing, yeah. And how important do you think it is for young people to have a mentor? Do you think everybody needs that one individual to guide them, whether it be somebody from the industry they're looking to break into, an older figure, or do you think it's something a bit more holistic? Stephen Bartlett has been speaking recently. I'm probably going to reference him a lot on this podcast as quite an enigmatic entrepreneur.
Yeah, Alex is a big fan.
You mentioned him a lot. And he talks about it being something, a mentor should be something more holistic. It could be something you pick up from Twitter, from the internet. There are lots of sources for inspiration, or should it be one person to guide you?
It's an interesting question, because my whole life I thought I need that one person who can mentor me. I need that one entrepreneur. And it's been, I think, many people, and I've gained different perspectives, and I take some things that I really like about one person, or get really impressed about, and then take other things from other people, and so on and so forth. I think one person who played a big role on my entrepreneurial journey now, and maybe he doesn't even know it, I think, he probably doesn't know it, is also someone from a university who then founded a company that's now called WeFox, which is an insurtech startup, one of the biggest, or the biggest insurtech startup in Europe, and one of the biggest German companies nowadays, or startups. And I admire a lot of things, and I see a lot of things. I was working on projects together with him, and I believe it's a lot of people. It might not be one exclusive kind of mentor for you. You still have to build up that self thing in yourself, and you take inspiration from a lot of people. This is why when you're Huzzle, you build up these connections, you get matched to new people on a weekly basis, and you make more experiences there. So I agree with that. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for students how they should reach out to mentors, how they should talk to them, and what they should how their relationships should be built?
I think that a lot of people hold back from reaching out to people who are extremely successful because they think, I have no chance anyways. He won't read that message. He's not going to check his LinkedIn DMs when I message him or whatever. And I think two things. Number one, that's not true. I think it's quite the opposite. And especially if you truly value something in someone, if you're truly impressed by that and you share it with that person, then he's willing to help you, I think, and give back. And secondly, just do it anyways, because you have nothing to lose. So I would encourage everyone to reach out to their role models and just try it. Maybe someone will then reply, and then this conversation can take you a long way.
And how did your relationship with your mentor started?
It started in 2019. I was visiting in Berlin. There was an economic conference. It's called SZ, Wirtschaftsgipfel. SZ is like a newspaper in Germany. Süddeutsche Zeitung, SZ. And I saw Julian Teikitz, the name as founder of WeFox, on the stage. And it ignited something in me, the way he talked and how he was. And I thought, like, wow, this is a genuine human being. Because a lot of people, when they're getting asked questions, they try to put it into their predefined answers and standardized kind of ways of saying things. But he didn't. He really took a break and tried thinking about the question and come up with a genuine answer. And you could feel like he doesn't really care. It's just you. This is himself right now. This is he being him, in this moment. And I was really impressed by that. So 2 days after that, I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and I told him, hey, I saw you at this conference. Really impressed. Would be cool to connect. And then 1 day or 2 days, I followed up with them. That's also another point. If they don't reply, follow up with them. Because most of the time they just don't, they see it maybe, and then they have something else going on. Just follow up with them again. 2 days later, follow up, and then we set up a meeting. And then I got to know about him. and about WeFox, and I met him in Berlin, and then I did a whole project with my marketing consulting company for WeFox. So yeah, that's how it started.
It's a great story.
I'm not sure if you guys have noticed too, but yeah, to anyone listening, that's definitely something I've learned since graduating. You have to be pushy. You can't be embarrassed. You have to have the courage to reach out to people and chase after them a little bit.
Yeah. Miss 100% the shots you never take.
Yeah.
But the assistant that Gary Vee has said, Gary Vee, I guess for people who are like entrepreneurial, he's like a god, right? Gary Vee. But like there's one thing he used to say, that like if there's only negative people in your life, because some people won't okay, like bring it to me, for example, when I was growing up in Sri Lanka, like I didn't have anyone who I could reach out to who was working in banking. We don't have the big banks back at home. So even if I wanted a mentor, it would have been a bit harder for me to get my hands on one. I think even in the UK, like if you're from a more remote area, like it's just hard, especially if your parents aren't in the industry and stuff, to find a mentor. But you know, Gary Vee has this thing that he says that like it's the age of the internet, right? Like you could have anyone you want in your ears at any time. And so he says this thing that like, put on your head, if your house is messy and people are arguing and like there's complete chaos around you, just put on the headset and just dial in to like whoever you want in the world. And that's the beauty of the time that we live in. And that's something that's, I mean, it really resonated with me, to be honest. Like, it doesn't matter what your background is. The internet itself has democratized everything.
Yep.
So for students who are lost because they have too many voices in their heads, maybe they're not sure where to go, they're still lost. You touched on it earlier. You were saying you need to have that feeling when you're setting up a company as an entrepreneur. Do you think that applies to a career as well? Do you really need to be kept up late at night by something?
That's a great question.
To commit to it? Or is it okay to go into finance for a few years?
Yeah, it's a great question.
How would you find that?
I think a lot of times people are being pressured into something like you have to find your passion. And then it's really stressful for people because maybe, is this really my passion? I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. Is this my passion? Do I wake up every single day and just get so excited about it? And I think that's not really what it is. And I think it's a bit dangerous to say you need to find your passion to become truly happy. I think it's a process. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. If you was the initial,
like you had that kind of that feeling. It was keeping you up at night.
Yep.
When you first had the idea for Huzzle. When you find that, I guess that's a good sign. That means you're onto something. Yeah.
But for students who don't really know,
what should you do if you don't have that feeling? And can you feel it in other areas? Is it just when you're setting up a company, or could it be with regards to a certain career path?
I always had that feeling when I got just out and when I threw myself into the water, and I was out there and I started going into the details, like I said before, deep diving into what I was doing there, into the thoughts. And again, going back to this, I think that's what you have to do. Just throw yourself out there somewhere. Doesn't really matter where. In some industry maybe you like. But if you do this right now, you have like internships and you're away from 6 months. So again, going back to this problem, you have to do it in an efficient way right now because you have 3 years, and then you should arrive at a very good career decision in your third year, because that actually has a big impact on your later life and so on. So, but as soon as possible, when you have the time, just throw yourself out there and do these workshops and visit the conferences and do hackathons and competitions and just try things. But you have to try them in reality. I think you shouldn't listen and you shouldn't think too much. You just have to try it and do it. And then naturally, you start to know, okay, this is the direction I want to go in.
Those granular opportunities
exactly.
you were referring to earlier. Yeah. And you have lots of those through the app too.
That's exactly what we're trying to, just trying to facilitate the connection between you and having access to these tiny career opportunities, and also having access to the network, making these connections, mentors of other students that help you transition, again, the long-term vision, transition in a very natural way into the world of work. Yeah.
What about for employers? So if there's any potential employers watching this now, or someone who is linked to an employer, what are the solutions for them, and how do they? Because I mean, from my understanding, you have like, let's say, the big banks, Barclays and stuff would be listed. But what if you're just like a small firm with like 2 or 3 people, can they also join? Can they
Yes.
advertise on Huzzle?
Yes, please. So especially, I think a lot of medium-sized companies in Germany, we call them the Mittelstand. It makes up a big share of all the companies out there. They have huge problems attracting talent because they don't have an employer brand. You don't know about them, right? But the other side is they are very attractive employers because they offer amazing working models. And also there's huge potential if you join these companies. You can have much more responsibility than maybe in other companies, and you can then these can act as a launch pad, or you can just become happy at these. So I think there's huge untouched potential, and we currently don't have a way of communicating that to people of the benefits that the companies offer. So when you go on job platforms, maybe you see icons of the benefits and so on and so forth, where you see like bullet points of how this company is different. What we're trying to do is we have a network of TikTokers that make videos about the companies and communicate that in like a 15-20 second video why the company is so cool to work at. What are the unique benefits? So you just have 15-20 seconds, you get a good impression already about the company. You can watch that, and that maybe enables these two to find better people. But then of course it comes down to the matching algorithm that we're building, where we gradually learn more about the interests and the ways that the students want to work together with companies, and we learn about the companies, and then we are able to gradually, and this is a big process, this takes a lot of time in order to have to build a meaningful matching algorithm between these two stakeholders. It takes a lot of time. It's a journey, and then through the matching, but there's a lot of, I think, unlocked potential. It's a good point.
So I was going to say that there's this idea that I read, I think on Crunchbase. I was going through the Huzzle website, and there's this idea that you prioritize the benefits of the job as in terms of ranking the jobs, rather than the brand. So, it won't just be the big banks that are always popping at you, but it's actually the real tangible benefits of the job. I remember reading this, in a world where like there's not a lot of salary transparency and stuff, to be honest, like none of these jobs post their salaries, which is so frustrating because you never know how much you're going to be paid. So in terms of like benefits, are you more looking at sort of working from home, flexibility? Is that how you rank companies?
It's a really good point, I think. And if you look at let's have a look at maybe Airbnb, just an overall on the system, how Airbnb does it. So Airbnb has hosts, so you rent out your apartment there, and then you have guests on the other side of the platform. And if you are looking for apartments, the way Airbnb ranks these apartments is just by the guest experience that you're providing to the guests. So they have a system in place that maximizes guest experiences, that makes it, for me, that incentivizes me as a host to provide the best experience to my guests, because then I'm being ranked higher than other apartments. I make more money on the platform. Okay, and then you go to recruiting platforms. You can go to any platform you like, pretty much, where how are these companies being ranked? Which company gains more visibility? And there's just a direct correlation between just the money spent on the job ads of the company and then how the company is being ranked. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have the same with Facebook ads, of course. The more you spend on Facebook ads, the more visibility you get. That makes sense. Airbnb, they do it differently. As a host, you can't pay Airbnb more money to get more visibility, because that's not how it's supposed to be, right? You should maximize the guest experience, and then in the end, the person who provides the best experience to the guest wins in the market and has the most visibility. So this is exactly what we're trying to build. We're trying to take the Airbnb model onto our platform, which means that then you have a lot of factors that go into the equation. How do companies treat young people during the application process? How long does it take them to get back? Is the feedback, for example, personalized, right? And then they get rated by students, and then you also have company benefits and these kind of things where we rank them by, because in the end we're trying to build an environment in which companies are incentivized, truly incentivized, and this you can only do once you're really big, incentivized to invest their money not into job ads that buy them more visibility, but invest their money into better equipment for their employees, or like trees in the office. Or into systems that give them, enable them to give personalized feedback, that enable them to be quicker with their employees, invest in their onboarding journeys, the things that are truly, what it comes down to, making their company a better place to work at. So this is the fundamental shift we're trying to make. And again, this is a big, long journey.
Yeah.
And for both employers and students, how globally is actually Huzzle at the moment? Is it only working for particular locations, and how do you see it going in the future?
It's a good question. So we are laser focused on London right now, London universities, because it's a very condensed ecosystem in Europe. It's the largest European student city. And out of London, we want to grow in the UK and become really, really good in the UK, and then take that concept to other European countries. So the first homogeneous market we want to tackle after that is the DACH region, so Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and then become big in Europe, and then maybe make the leap to the United States. But already on Huzzle, you have opportunities where you can work in New York, because you have big companies on there, and then they have one opportunity, mostly associated with different locations. So if you're a London student, you go on there and you can also get matched to a job in New York, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you have, so if you could tell us now, how do you see Huzzle in 5 years maybe, or in 10 years? What's the main goal, the biggest plans?
In 5 years. In 5 years, Huzzle should be the go-to place for students in Europe to find what they like and to be transitioned into the world of work, to engage with these tiny career opportunities, gradually find their intent, land their internship, which again, getting that internship and getting that job is just the tip of the iceberg. Everything underneath that is your interest and the path that the students are currently on, where no job platform really helps you with. This is just the visible part, the internship and the job. And transitioning them into the world of work. And we will have metrics, impact metrics, on how these people then do in the world of work. Are we actually able to make much better matches? And are people then happier at the job they find through Huzzle, because they have now developed and crystallized their interest into a more concrete intent? And we will, this will be our North Star metric, in which the company's headed. So we have this one metric of positive impact. Are we actually able to increase productivity of people that go through Huzzle then in the world of work, that are happier? And this is the one that we will follow. In the next 5 years, I see this then becoming really big in Europe and being the number one place for European students. And after this, I think we have a case to expand into the States.
I remember reading that your applicant to success ratio was 50 to 1, I think. So 50 applicants, one person gets the job. Whereas the industry average, or like, I guess you compare it with things like Indeed and stuff, who I'm guessing you look at, is it correct to say that you look at companies like Indeed and LinkedIn Jobs as competitors?
Theoretically, I think that they're competition.
Yeah.
I think we just focus on a segment and make it amazing for students, and we focus on making the career experience delightful and joyful for students. And Indeed is a huge job platform, right? Mostly for professionals in the market. So I think we can become the number one solution early on in the journey for students. And then, since we have gathered so much information about you and make more personalized matches, I think we can even then think of expanding into the professionals world and offering you the next job and the job after that. And I think it's really important to start very early. I think it doesn't really work if you start once people transition into the professionals world, because then you have been with a person, you've been in this long journey, kind of as a career consultant or a full-time recruiter friend, and you know that person really well, and that person trusts you now with the things he sends you, the opportunities he provides you with. So, and this is also interestingly right now, if you look at other tech companies, I think a model that is going to succeed is one example is there's an insurtech company they're called Lemonade, out of New York, and they're making the insurance experience delightful and super amazing for young people. Now, one problem is that still, a lot of people want the personal connection with insurance brokers. They don't trust technical solutions yet, 100%. But what they do is they make it super amazing for young people. The problem with making it for young people is that you don't have so much money in the market. The market is not as big as if you get your house and you get insurance on the house. But of course, they grow with their first users. They grow with their customers. They get them in the university, and then They learn about them, and then if you get your house and so on and so forth, they're also the insurance company to provide you with. And I think taking this journey approach and learning meaningful things about your user, where you center everything around, then also is an access point into the professional space. So right now I don't see LinkedIn or Indeed as competitors.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, if I take a step back and think about my own life and my own journey, like when I was looking for jobs, I mean, it was a while ago. I don't think Huzzle was around. It was like, back in 1970. I was looking for jobs, and I would type things like investment jobs London onto Google. And then these websites would show up like Indeed, Monster, I think that was one.
Monster,
Indeed, Monster, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn I went on less for some reason. I don't know. It just didn't have like a huge database of jobs for some reason. Maybe I was just not seeing it. So maybe employers were more registered on Indeed. For some reason, Indeed was the big one where I saw so many. Monster was great too, and they weren't really good at their matching. Like I applied for jobs in Edinburgh accounting, for example, which is not at all what I wanted to do, but that seemed like the only jobs that were available. And so, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to compare it with Huzzle and what your mission is. Your app, which we can do a demo shortly, it looks great because I remember when I made an account, it asks me for my preferences. And I put like, investment bank, and I put whatever preferences I wanted. And it had this very sort of AI feel to it, which I'm assuming is that next step that Indeed and those other companies don't provide.
I'm pretty sure that they also provide it, but the major problem that these, we call them transactional job platforms, which are waiting for a clear intent, like you said, I searched on them, right? I put an investment banking job, London. So there's a concrete search query from a user which requires an intent, like you need a concrete career goal, right?
Yeah.
A lot of young people don't yet have this concrete career goal. This comes from the development of interests. They crystallize the interests until you arrive at this intent. So they basically ignore the process that has happened before, how you got there, which also means that now the relationship between you and the platform is very transactional, and it's very just one point in time where they get some information about you. They don't have a lot, so it's a very punctual relationship between you and the platform. So they also just don't have the ability to gather meaningful data in order to match you with truly personalized opportunities that are built for you. Huzzle is taking a companion approach, right? So we are guiding you through your first 3 years of university and introducing you to the world of work. And this way we can collect more meaningful information about how you engage with it, how you engage with granular opportunities. You can do more of them on a weekly basis. And other platforms don't have the chance, or they're not built to accommodate this. So I think that's extremely important. And you mentioned AI and machine learning. We're currently working on the model that will. It's a cool new concept in the field of AI. It's called deep learning on social or dynamic graphs, where you basically treat everything in the app as an entity. You treat a career opportunity as an entity, a user as an entity, and then you're just trying to predict, based on a machine learning model, the likelihood of a connection occurring between two entities. This could be you and another user. This could also be you and a company. This could also be you and a concrete career opportunity. And since we can learn, when feedback is crucial, they're step by step on the journey and learn. We can feed the model with information and become better and better.
Ingmar, I have one last thing to ask you before we start doing the tour of the app. And it's, I guess, just out of personal interest. When it came to your sort of entrepreneurial journey, specifically with regards to raising money, at what point did you think, I'm going to need like investor money? Because there's that bootstrapping, I can just do this on my own, I might, use some friends and family and make it work, versus I need venture capital money and this is how it will help. And then the process of which, I guess, for the entrepreneurial part of our audience, it's super scary to first like go out with your idea to the world, but it's even scarier to pitch it and ask for help, and in this case for funding. So how did you feel? Was this, your first experience kind of pitching something, and like the process of raising money, especially from such a big and sort of successful venture capital firm? Like, just out of my interest, and I'm assuming for a big part of our audience, how was that part of the process?
Mm-hmm. So we've bootstrapped for the first 6 months out of our own pockets, and we are still not paying ourselves salaries as founders because we're still, But so we've bootstrapped, and at one point, you obviously need more capital in order to reach your goals, to be quicker. I think we could just go like this and just continue bootstrapping the whole team. We could have done that, but then of course you're much slower, and there are other solutions that will come into this market and outcompete you. So you need money from venture capitalists, and I also don't just look at the money. I think the money comes like a third place or so. Number one, I look at I don't know if it's number one. Network is extremely important. So look at venture capital firms that can be strategic partners, that can open doors to maybe customers, and that are just behind you, that want to be on the same journey as you are, and love the vision that you have for the company, love what you're building. And you need these people who are genuinely motivated to be partners with you on this vision, and then the money comes. Because also I think there's a lot of money out there, a lot of venture capital firms, and at some point I think any company can raise the money, but then you have very passive investors, and there's just the money, right? So you need partners. You want to build partnerships that are on the journey together with you.
Speaking of partnerships, I was going to say, founding partner and managing director of 10x Founders, Robert Woodke, says, I believe that the next generation of students will use Huzzle to enter the world of work because it brings clarity and convenience to a career market that has been fragmented and underserved by tech solutions.
Wow.
Robert is an amazing guy. Robert understands, especially, I said this in the beginning, I think in this market, it's about the team who can take it, the market who can win it. And he invested in us, in the team. He believed in us, and the idea will change, or we will pivot a bit, and so on and so forth. That's always how it is. But you invest in talents. And with us now, we want to take this, and we've done this the time, I think, but when we raise money now, we also invest that money that these partners now gave us into our team, and we treat it the same way. So we invest into talents that join us, that join our company, whether it's a developer or a business generalist, but we invest into talents where we like something about them, we think they can grow, and they will grow with us. So they might not, they don't need the experience on their CV, they don't need to have worked for prestigious companies and so on and so forth. They don't even need good grades. But there needs to be something. Mostly for me, it's about ambition. If I see ambition in a person, and willpower, I think is one of the most important things. Then we invest in you, and you grow with the company. We believe that only the company with the best team can win in this market. And this is, I got a bit, took a little path now about what you were initially saying, but you got me excited about that. Yeah.
Should we do a tour of the app, guys? So for this next part of the podcast, I'm actually gonna take the app on my phone, and Ingmar is just gonna kind of talk through, hopefully, some of the features of the app that you guys can expect to see when you first download the app. Ingmar, so I'm gonna use the audio from the mic actually from this, because it'll be clearer.
Cool.
But the floor is yours.
So what's happening here is, I think you signed up as, let's see. Okay, let's go into your profile. I hope I can share this.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So your preferences are right now hedge funds, investment banking. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Surprise.
So based on these interests, we then try to look at all the opportunities we have on our system and provide you with these matches. So we think that this is a kind of a behavior that students would do on a weekly basis. Now, I think you signed up maybe as a third-year student or a second-year?
Yeah, I think I did third-year student.
Yeah. So in the third year, it's a bit more transactional. So mostly people will be looking for graduate jobs, maybe internships, maybe a bit less for events and workshops and these kind of tiny and granular opportunities. But there it's more about providing the match to the graduate job. That's why you see a lot of jobs in here. That might be a good fit for your role. Yeah, that's the current experience. So if I want to tap on anything, find out more information, can go on the company side. I can apply right now. We still link to a lot of career pages externally, and the next big focus on the development side is to have all the application processes in-house, which means that we envision the experience to just be you create your profile with Huzzle once, you upload your CV, you give us information about yourself, and then you can just go through this matching here, and if you find a job you like, you just tap on it, and then maybe 1 or 2 more taps and you have applied to the opportunity. So we want it to be that delightful and that joyful for you taking on all these other pains. Let's say I like this one, I can save it. Any saved opportunities will then here be in my manager where I can find them. I can manage them along the career journey. When I apply to it, they'll be here and so on and so forth. And this section here, it's the search explore section, which is more built for, again, based on intent people who already know what they want, who just want to browse and look around. So that's why you also have all the crucial features you need when it comes to based on intent, other job platforms, which is mostly very detailed filtering. So you can just look at, what's out there based on the filters. You can browse around. You can also find student societies at your university, at different universities and their events and so on and so forth. And
that's funny. I see EFS and stuff on there. Like even UCL societies are listed.
Exactly. Yeah. London. LSE, SU, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I can follow them, see their events, and here, if the message section. So right now you can message, for example, companies, and you can message the Huzzle team, and we will message you. If you leave a message, the Param will probably get back to you on the app. But this is where the whole community aspect will happen. So what we will do here is create weekly one-on-one introductions between 2 people with similar interests and career goals, and to mentors and other people. Yeah, that's a quick tour, I think.
That's great. That's great.
That's lovely.
And so, we really, really encourage you to download the app and have a browse for yourself, put your details down, see what pops up. I guess like the jobs that pop up are specific to the time period as well. Like there'll be some times maybe at the end of the year where most companies are hiring for their grad jobs and stuff, and then maybe this time of the year is a bit quieter. Would you say so?
Yeah, you always have the seasons in spring and in fall where companies are making their hires. Especially when it comes to graduate jobs, that's more transactional, so you have them in the seasons. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
Just sounds like a really wonderful app. Hopefully it will be really useful to students. And
thanks so much for coming.
On that. We'll make it happen.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Ingmar. Like we're always here to support you. We encourage everyone to go and support Huzzle on their Instagram page as well, and any other things you want to plug in.
What should I plug in here? No, I don't have any things to plug in, to be honest. No. Hi, Mom. This is the typical thing you do when you're on podcasts, I guess. No. I really love what you're doing, closing the information gap. And I think, thank you very much for having me here, for giving me the time to share all these thoughts and talking about Huzzle, talking about the company. And it's been great.
Pleasure speaking with you. And big up Manu as well, who's put a lot of work into this.
Definitely. Look at this setup here. This is
hopefully we'll have some really great founders like you and people on the podcast as well. And we're thinking that we're gonna have everyone that's ever been on a podcast on the wall, and the first Polaroid will actually be captured live on set today.
Ooh, okay.
Alex, could you grab it? I don't see the camera anywhere.
Yeah, so we've got it over there.
Could you grab it, and then while we're all hooked on, we can...
Oh, like in the full setup?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, nice. You have like a vintage one. Actual vintage Polaroid camera. Not bad.
Manny, maybe if I give this to you.
Yeah, just pop that bad boy out.
So this is the proper one, huh?
Yeah, this is the proper one.
From your dad, or did you actually buy it? So
I actually bought it.
It's like one of the retro ones, no?
So
should I do it maybe from here, or do you want to do it, Angellika, or
whatever is more?
I don't know, because I feel like this is a nicer background.
Yeah. Should we do it from this way?
Alex, use this to look at how we look like on the thingy on top. See? Yeah, and make sure that all 4 of us are in the frame.
It's this button here.
That's the click button. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Awesome. Can you see all 4 of us?
I think just that if
the camera can see this, we have these many cookies, and you have only eaten one. Right?
Yeah,
only one cookie.
I think I had about 2 to be honest.
Angellika, if you lean in a little bit.
Yeah.
a bit more. And I think we're good.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Let's see.
So they say it's a myth, but you should not expose it to light for the first.
It's a myth.
Yeah, I think so.
take for
Yeah.
it to appear?
Oh, I don't know.
See, I thought you were meant to shake it or something. To
Yeah, I
speed it
think
up.
you should shake
You
it.
should
Let's
shake
give it a shake. Let's
Let's
give it a shake.
It feels right. Okay.
Should we do more, like as you suggested?
Yeah, I think we can do one more.
A silly one.
A silly one, yeah. So this will materialize. Should we do one more, Alex?
Okay.
Any
So maybe if we all come behind one microphone and
Yeah.
just kind of take a selfie.
No, that makes sense. That's a good idea.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next week. Thanks, Ingmar. See you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh no.
Oh, guys.
The most important person.
Oh, come on, man.
Let's take
another
let's take one more.
How has that happened? I'm so sorry.
That's cool. Look at it. It's like, I always look very serious there.
It's a great
It's not
picture.
funny. That's so funny.
It's a great picture.
It's so funny.
I feel like
You have to keep it, obviously, as the first.
yeah, 100%.
You should keep it